So, Sierra, tell me a little bit about this movie of yours, coming of age, adolescence. It's just an incredible movie. I want to hear all about your role, how you got started. I want to hear all the things.
Awesome. Thank you. So the movie's called Edge of Everything, and it follows Abby, who I play, as she navigates a very difficult sort of transitional moment in her life. She's 14, turning 15. She's entering high school. And if that wasn't hard enough, her mother has recently passed away, and she's having to navigate living with her dad now. And she hasn't really been close to him in many, many years. So navigating that relationship and his new girlfriend and the sort of trials and tribulations of high school, and wanting so badly to not be perceived as a child, but also mourning your childhood and still being a child in a way. And so she sort of becomes attracted to a new friend who sort of represents being older and being cool and not caring about things. And she sort of gets in trouble a little bit, makes some decisions that don't reflect having a fully cooked frontal lobe. You know, some of those young choices that we make, especially when we're going through something kind of difficult. So it's about her navigating all of those factors in this moment in her life.
And how did you prepare for the role? We were discussing before we went on air. We both, are past high school, but did you delve from your high school experience or things you saw from friends or classmates? How did you get into the character?
Yeah, so I felt like it was very important just to put myself back in those shoes because it was something I'd already had experienced, albeit a decade almost previously. So the most important part of the prep for me was just remembering how it felt to be that age. And so I went through the harrowing ordeal of looking at all my social media from that age. So I looked at all my horrible Facebook posts and all of my Instagram posts, and went on the Wayback Machine so I could find my Tumblr blog that I had since deleted. So I got to sort of just put myself back and just remember how it felt using social media for one, as a youngster, and then on top of that, how I used it to speak with my friends, and it kind of just gave me a window into where I was and how I was acting at that time, which was a little awful, but very necessary. Because even though I was in my mind now so deeply cringe, I wasn't concerned with being cringe at that time. I was just trying to have fun with my friends and goof around. And so I feel like that uninhibited nature was something I really tried to draw on, because I feel like as we get older and become adults, we become much more controlled over how we seem and how we come off to people, and we're very painfully aware of all those things. And not that you aren't when you're a teenager, you're still very aware, you're very self-conscious, but I think especially when you're just kind of goofing around with your friends, you have a different perspective on how you act. And then on top of that, I made a playlist of all the music I listened to at that age, so I could really be taken back, and just kind of remember how it felt when an artist really spoke to you, or really captured something that you were feeling, or really kind of rocked your world with something new and a song you'd never heard before. And I feel like when you're at that age, particularly, like, music is very important to you. And they kind of say that the stuff that you got really into when you were like 14, 15, it kind of lasts, it stays with you forever. And I realized that that was true. I stand by almost all the stuff I was listening to at that age. So that was mostly my prep, but also what drew me to the script and the character was that I had kind of an unorthodox and unique childhood adolescence. I was an actor, working on a show the whole time. So I didn't really get to have a lot of the experiences that Abby has in this movie. And so something that was appealing to me was the opportunity to sort of live vicariously through Abby a little bit, and kind of give myself some of those experiences. So yeah, that's kind of what I did to prep, and my mindset going in, sort of.
And to piggyback a little bit about what you said about living vicariously through Abby, in what ways do you relate to her? Or if you don't, do you have it? And does she have any characteristics that you wish you had?
Um, Abby, I feel like I was very much like Abby when I was that age. I wasn't navigating an intense loss or anything like that, thank God. Um, but I was someone that desperately wanted to come off as cool and kind of kept their emotions close to the vest and kind of bottled them up a little bit in order to come off as cooler than everything and above it all and sort of unflappable in a way. And I just wanted to, I wished I was so mysterious and aloof, but I was so outgoing and chatty that I had no chance. And I also cared so deeply about everything when I was that age, but I, for some reason, wanted so desperately to seem like I didn't. And that was something that I felt like I really connected to Abby with was that feeling of caring so deeply, but wanting desperately to seem like you don't. And I think even more to that extent, I had friends like Caroline, and they were kind of bad for me, but I wanted so desperately to be that kind of person in high school. So I think the dynamic between Abby and Caroline specifically was very natural to me because I remember having that kind of chaotic um, train wreck kind of friend that definitely got me into some things I shouldn't have been into. But I wanted so badly to be that kind of person and for people to perceive me that way. And I think that stuck around even into adulthood because I think that dynamic was very easy to portray because and actually I know that this is completely true because one of my absolute best friends since like 2003 came to a screening of this movie and I was like, okay, girl, you're the only one that would have actually known me at this time in my life. So be honest, you got to tell me. And she was like, no, that was literally like you. It was kind of crazy. And so she gave me the seal of approval that I was definitely drawing on a lot of truth as to how I was when I was that age.
Nice. And what would you say was the biggest challenge for you playing this role, doing the movie? Because it deals with a lot of heavy topics. So, what would you say was the biggest challenge about diving into that?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge was kind of confronting how I felt because I don't know, the nature of doing something like this where you're reflecting on this time in your life that's about 10 years before kind of forces you to confront your personal feelings maybe about that time in your life. And I wasn't expecting that going in, but that's what ended up happening. And particularly with my scenes with Jason, who plays my dad, because I had a very different experience growing up, and my parents were very strict. And very much on my ass about a lot of things. And so it was a little difficult to fully empathize and feel what Abby was feeling in some of those moments because adult Sierra was viewing it as you know, if my dad had been half as chill as Jason is, and Jason's character is very much like a little too hands off, and that kind of creates some of the problems in the movie. But all I wanted was a more chill, hands off parent, you know, when I was that age, and so it was hard for me to sort of confront that this is exactly what I would have wanted. And Abby is supposed to feel so deeply hurt by the fact that you know he's so preoccupied with other aspects of his life in this movie. And so I had to sort of confront my feelings about how I was raised and how I grew up and what my adolescence was like in order to, I think, to fully empathize and understand Abby's emotional point of view for a lot of those moments. Um, so yeah, I think that was the biggest, I would say, challenge. The whole shoot didn't feel very challenging just because the vibe on set and the sort of environment that the filmmakers created really felt like summer camp and it felt super fun. And everyone had such a wonderful time, and the cast and crew are all still really good friends, and we all hang out and stuff currently. So it didn't feel like challenging, but I think some of those scenes maybe confront emotions that I had about how I grew up.
Nice. And what's one scene that you're most looking forward to everybody seeing? Without giving too much away for those of us who, well, those of people who haven't seen it, but what are you most looking forward to everybody seeing?
Everybody's seeing. Um, I don't know about what I'm looking forward for everyone to see necessarily. I think my favorite scenes to film were the scenes that were all in a big group with all the girls hanging out. Because I think those were just the funnest for us to film, and we had such a blast making them that I think I'd be happy for people to see those most of all, actually, I think, because we had such a fun time, and I think it really captures that youthful sort of um uninhibited free nature that friends have at that age, where they feel the freedom to just goof around and be so silly. And I hope that that resonates with other people and makes them think about their friends and how wonderful it is at that age to have close friends that you feel you can be that way around. So probably those scenes, all the scenes with the big, the friend group sort of hanging out, those are my favorite.
And what's next for you? I mean, we're all getting ready to see this, have it released on Blu-ray, DVD. So what's next for you?
Well, I have been promoting this movie and another movie all month, that are coming out kind of at the same time. I have another movie called, excuse me, The Last Stop in Yuma County. And it's on VOD now and in select theaters, so you can go see that. It's a very different movie than this one. It's very stylized, um, very like cinematic, in a way that's very big visual choices, and I have a very big character, that's not super like grounded in like ultra realism like this one is. And coincidentally, I think it's interesting that I'm promoting these two movies at the same time, because this movie, I feel like that's the youngest I'll ever play again, is 14 turning 15, in Abby's case. And the other movie is the oldest I've ever played on screen to date. And I play an adult in their 20s. And so having those two contrasting characters in my brain all month has been kind of fun because they're very, very different. So that's what I have next right now that you can see.
And one thing I like asking people I interview is tell me a fun fact about yourself.
Ooh, a fun fact about myself. I'm ambidextrous. So I can write with both hands. And I have different things that I do with different sides of my body. So like in terms of sports, like my balance is way better on my left side. If I'm throwing a frisbee, I do it with my left hand. But if I want to write beautiful cursive, I do it with my right. Or if I want to have more power, I think I do it with my right side. If I want more accuracy, I do it with my left side for sports things. And yeah, when I'm doing my makeup, I'll just do the left side of my face with my left hand, and then I'll do the right side of my face with my right hand. So I think that's kind of fun.
That is really cool. My grandfather was ambidextrous too,
Oh,
so
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the
It's
few in my
it's
family that's left-handed.
oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Little southpaw moments. I love that. Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes continuity script supervisors on set will kind of hate me if I'm doing a dinner scene because I'll just switch the fork and knife back, like because I'll eat with either one. It doesn't make a difference to me. And so they're like, you need to pick which hand you're going to be using the fork or the knife or whatever. And I'll be like, ooh, sorry. Um, but yeah, it comes in handy, especially if my right hand is busy or occupied or something like that, and I have to sign something. I don't really think about it all that much until someone asks me what's a fun fact about myself, because it's kind of like, yeah, it's not something I think about all the time. But yeah, that's a fun one.
I like that. I like that. So, I know we discussed a little bit before, but what are you watching these days?
Um, well, I'm very bad at watching episodic things. I will maybe start a show sometimes and I'll like it. I think it's cool, but it's hard for me to devote the time to binging something. And sometimes I kind of think like, well, I could spend X amount of hours watching this show, or I could watch a movie, and that's like a whole narrative in 2 hours. And so I watch a lot of movies. And so Something I watched recently that I really liked was or it feels wrong to say that I like this movie because it was very upsetting, but I was inspired by it. I kind of had a bummer double feature the other night, and I watched this movie Threads. That's a British
Okay,
movie
okay.
about a hypothetical nuclear event happening in Sheffield, England in the 80s. Super harrowing. And then the next night, I was like, fuck it, why don't we watch the Iron Claw? And so I watched the Iron Claw and really, really liked it. Thought the performances were really awesome, especially Zac Efron. And that movie was also very much sad and a bummer. So I liked both of the movies a lot, though, and it feels kind of weird to say that because it's such, very, very sad, troubling things happen in them. But I felt very inspired, so I had a bummer double feature.
Nothing wrong with that. If it inspires you, then you're going somewhere, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like a lot of movies that are very sad or upsetting. It feels weird to say that I like them a lot because it's not like I'm condoning anything that happens in them, but I am very inspired by movies that kind of aren't afraid to go there emotionally, I guess. So that's what I've been watching lately is some bummer stuff.
And where can we find you on social media so we can continue to follow your career?
Oh, just on Instagram. I only have Instagram at this point. So my handle is just my name, Sierra McCormick. So you can find me on Instagram. That's where I post all the updates about different projects that I'm doing and stuff. So Instagram's the place, I would say.
All right, I'll send you a follow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and good luck with everything. I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you, Sammy. These are great questions. Sometimes the press thing can get a little monotonous, but this is a really fun, interesting conversation.
Thank you so much. I hope we talk again soon.
All right. Talk again soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.